So here today I'm bringing to you some stories about my experience, some stories about my ancestors, some stories about what I have experienced living during my juvenile years, trying to find my path in life as a young agronomist with the great vision of providing food to all. Because like I learned from grandma, if you don't eat, you're gonna die. And you gotta eat a lot, right? To stay healthy and strong. And so one thing, now that I'm growing older, although well-fed, as you can see, is that we are living apparently in a world of abundance when we talk about food, but very unfortunately there are millions of people, including in our great state of Minnesota, that go to bed at night hungry. And as I have been learning, and as I am learning, because I remain very interested in this topic, is not really a matter of producing more food. It's more a matter of giving people easy access to food, giving access to land. And as an educator, one of the biggest drama that I'm living at present is that as I'm growing older, with my great pride of having spent weekends at Grandpa's farm in the old motherland and helping him and uncles to spread the manure from the little barn at this time of the year as the land was becoming prepared for sowing wheat for the following growing season, none of my students, or not too many of my students, or even my own children understand what it is, this attachment to the land that inevitably we have to maintain because that is where our food is coming from. And so I think the theme for this conference could not be most appropriate, because everything starts with a seed. And so my story, I'm going to take briefly on a tangent, because actually if we look at the evolutionary history that brought us here, okay, plants have been on Earth much longer, at least this is what the fossil record and evidence suggests. And so the production of seed has been the evolutionary adaptation of the first ancestors of plant species that with perseverance, with tenacity, they have been able to adapt to catastrophic events, to the coming of the glaciers, to the withdrawals of the same, to floods, to tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and they're still here. So when I think about seed, I think about hanging in there. When I think about seed, I think about patience. When I think about seed, I think about renewal. When I think about seed, I think, who am I, who are we as human beings? I think at the base of this paradigm shift in seed saving is that in a blink of an eye, in terms of time, we have obliterated the culture from different ethnic groups and different kind of foods of storing and saving seed for a model of of seed production for, as it is professed, the future of food security that is first of all extremely homogeneous, and where, and that is the thing that as a biologist I find hard to understand, is not anymore the plant and its seed adapting to the whims and the changes occurring in the environment, but is the other way around. Now we have the technology, we transfer a gene from an organism that doesn't have anything to do with a pea or with a sunflower, and our expectation is that the environment will adapt to the technology that we have ingeniously devised. So what I'm seeing around, okay, is the whole planet, our little blue planet, becoming uniformly very homogeneous, okay? I mean, look at our Minnesota. Yesterday I was driving away from my beautiful bluff country, okay? And as I entered the grassland, where I was thinking, the Dakota here were hunting their bisons, probably even a few hundred years ago, right, before we displaced them. Now the farmers were applying manure, tilling the soil, preparing those thousands and thousands of acres for the 2017 corn crop. And that corn crop, the seed, where is it coming from? It's not as diverse as the diversity that you see in these few ears of corn that I'm holding. The diversity has been shrunk to the bare bone, okay? And so, biologically, that is a great danger. And humanity should know about that. Because if you are of Irish ancestry, I'm sure you have heard the story of the Phytophthora, the fungus that destroyed the potato crop in the 1840s and brought your ancestors from Ireland to North America. Okay? So what did we learn from that lesson? But again, we will maybe reflect about that and as we continue the discussion. So here, I think that more than ever, the idea of saving seed, saving germplasm, it's like should become really a movement, and in a way it is a movement, because Tom Seeley, since the 1975, you know, not too far from here, in Decorah, Iowa, there is a large group of seed savers around this organization that is preserving germplasm without much funds coming from the federal government, but they're doing it. So this is a grassroots movement that I think deserves our greatest respect. And what I've been learning is that saving seed is actually very simple. So even if you have a few square feet of garden and you grow one vegetables and you got those seeds from maybe your grandparents, please share those seeds, continue to grow that variety, because that is what food security, after all, is all about. So when I also think about seed, about the attributes I was telling you a few minutes ago, I think about community. I think about cooperation. I think about sharing. I think about generosity. And in fact, I'm not an anthropologist or an historian, but I have been reading, I have been hearing stories from my native country, from also countries where I lived, where the seed is really the patrimony of a society.